Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Sight for White, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Saturday, the 29th of July. Couple of warnings. The 31st of July is looming. If you do have any tax to pay, please make sure it's paid by the 31st of July. And if you do have working family tax credits, again, this must be submitted by the 31st of July. This week, I come to you not so excitedly from a chair in my house. Having been on holiday, tripped down some stairs, I broke my foot, and now I'm very immobile, waiting to see if I need surgery. I can now safely say everybody should have received the newsletters. These have all gone out this week by post and email. Apologies for my mistake last week. I was a week out in my own head. Everybody enjoy the summer and stay safe.
Hello everyone, this is Steve with a story from the Isle of Wight Observer, headlined, Lively Wight Link Protest Gets Honking Support. Around 60 protesters, joined by Rosie the dog, staged a demonstration on Ryde Seafront last Saturday about Wight Link's fares and services. The Wight Link user group, that's the WUG, which organised the protest, is campaigning for free NHS travel and half-price fares for visiting friends and relations, fairer ferry fares for islanders, and later services with train connectivity. Armed with placards and a megaphone, the group outlined its aims, handed out leaflets, and encouraged passing cars to show their support by blowing their horns, with considerable success. The group was set up by Bronwyn Hamilton Brown, who said, "Our third demonstration was a great success. Whilst the CEO of Wight Link states that we are an unauthorised group, because we have not been authorised by them, our group of more than 4,000 members continues to fight for affordable fares for islanders, friends, family and visitors to the island. We also fight for fixed and affordable fares for those needing medical care on the mainland and for all of our young people, to enable them to realise their potential with opportunities not available on the island. Lastly, we urge Wight Link to continue with the recently reinstated later night cats, which are threatened in 2024, and extend the 8 p.m. service on the Yarmouth to Lymington routes until later in the evening to improve connectivity." During the demonstration, it was announced that Isle of Wight MP Bob Seely had become a member of the group and had made a generous donation to help us cover our costs. When it was revealed to be £20, there was widespread laughter from the group. One familiar face among the protesters was Vix Lothian, who will be standing for the Green Party for the new Isle of Wight East parliamentary seat in the next general election. She said, "Islanders have had enough. The cost of ferry fares is astronomical, and this is hitting residents hard who need to travel for work, to see family, or to get vital medical treatment. Our ferry services are essential public services, not cash cows for international corporations. We demand that Wight Link provide residents with fairer fares and that government urgently enforce a public service obligation on our ferry companies so that we can afford to use them." You can find out more about WUG on their Facebook page. WUG is part of Book Research. One keen observer of the Wight Link user group's campaign was journalist and author Hetty O'Brien, who spent several days last week on the island doing research for her book about private equity companies and the growing role that the industry plays in everyday life and the goods and services that people depend upon. She said, "It has been really interesting to see the efforts of the Wight Link user campaign. They clearly believe that the financial model of the ferry companies is not appropriate for a lifeline service." Hetty's book is due to be published by Weidenfeld and Nicholson and Grand Central in spring 2026. The title has not yet been finalised.
Hello, this is an article from the Island Echo read by Sue. Isle of Wight GP surgeries ranked from good to bad in annual GP survey. What patients think of Isle of Wight doctor surgeries has been revealed, showcasing both good and bad. The National Annual GP Survey, compiled by the NHS England and Ipsos, allows patients to comment on the performance of their surgeries with Isle of Wight GPs amongst those on the list. A multiple choice survey sees experiences ranked from how easy it was to get through on the phone and how helpful the receptionist was, to whether patients felt they were treated with care and concern. See how your doctor's surgery was rated. Find out more results here. The GP surgery with the best overall experience, the percentage of respondents who said their practice was good or very good. First, Wight Primary Partnership, 87%. Equal second, South Wight Medical Practice and Ventnor Medical Centre, 81%. Third, Argyle House in Ryde. Equal third was Medina Healthcare and St Helens Medical Centre, all 79%. Fourth was Tower House in Ryde and the Bay Medical Centre, 69%. Fifth was East Cowes Medical Centre and Esplanade Surgery in Ryde, 68%. Sixth was Cowes Medical Centre. Seventh was Newport Health Centre. How easy it was to get through to the practice by phone. First, Wight Primary Partnership, 80%. Second, Ventnor Medical Centre, 76%. Third, South Wight Medical Practice, 73%. Fourth, Argyle House in Ryde, 60%. Fifth, Medina Healthcare, 55%. Sixth, St Helens Medical Centre, 52%. Seventh, East Cowes Medical Centre, 46%. Eighth, the Bay Medical Practice. Equal is Tower House Surgery Ryde, both with 33%. Ninth was Cowes Medical Centre, 32%. 10th, Esplanade Surgery Ryde, 24%. 11th, Newport Health Centre, 20%. How helpful patients found receptionists. First was Wight Primary Partnership, 94%. Second, South Wight Medical Practice, 93%. Third, Ventnor Medical Centre, 92%. Fourth, Cowes Medical Centre, 90%. Fifth, Newport Health Centre, 84%. Sixth, Medina Healthcare and St Helens Medical Centre, both 82%. Seventh, Esplanade Surgery in Ryde with 80%. Equal eighth was the Bay Medical Centre and Tower House Surgery in Ryde with 79%. Ninth was Argyle House in Ryde with East Cowes Medical Centre, both with 78%. How many patients spoke to their preferred GP? First, Argyle House in Ryde, 47%. Second, Wight Primary Partnerships, 42%. Third, St Helens Medical Centre, 40%. Fourth, Medina Healthcare, 38%. Fifth, South Wight Medical Practice, 31%. Equal sixth was the Bay Medical Centre and Tower House Surgery in Ryde, both with 29%. Seventh, East Cowes Medical Centre, 27%. Eighth, Cowes Medical Centre, 36%. Ninth, Ventnor Medical Centre, 20%. 10th, Esplanade Surgery Ryde, 13%. 11th, Newport Health Centre, 8%. Where healthcare professionals treated them with care and concern. Equal first was Argyle House in Ryde and St Helens Medical Centre and Wight Primary Partnerships, 89%. Second was Medina Healthcare, 88%. Third, Ventnor Medical Centre, 87%. Fourth, Newport Health Centre, along with South White Medical Practice, the Bay Medical Centre, and Tower House Surgery in Ryde with 85%. Fifth was Cowes Medical Centre with 82%. Sixth was East Cowes Medical Centre with 81%. Seventh, Esplanade Surgery in Ryde with 80%. Where patients felt their needs were met at their last appointment. First was Ventnor Medical Centre with 97%. Second was Argyle House Ryde, the Bay Medical Centre, Tower House Surgery Ryde, and White Primary Partnerships, all with 96%. Third was St Helens Medical Centre with 94%. Equal fourth was Cowes Medical Centre and Medina Healthcare with 93%. Fifth was South White Medical Practice with 91%. Sixth was Newport Health Centre with 90%. Seventh was East Cowes Medical Centre with 89%. And eighth was Esplanade Surgery in Ryde with 85%. Where patients had confidence and trust in their healthcare professional, they saw. Equal first was St Helens Medical Centre and Medina Healthcare, both with 97%. Equal second was Argyle House in Ryde and Newport Healthcare and Ventnor Medical Centre with 96%. Third was the Bay Medical Centre and Tower House Surgery in Ryde and South White Medical Practice, all with 95%. Fourth was White Primary Partnerships, 94%. Fifth was Cowes Medical Centre with 93%. Sixth was East Cowes Medical Centre, 87%. Seventh was Esplanade Surgery Ryde, 86%.
From the Island Echo, read by Lee. Figures reveal 32 cat cruelty reports made to the RSPCA on the Isle of Wight last year. Heartbreaking figures released by the RSPCA as part of its Cancel Out Cruelty campaign have revealed 32 cat cruelty complaints were made on the Isle of Wight last year. Nationally, last year there were almost 18,000 cat cruelty complaints reported to the RSPCA. Of those reports, 1,726 were intentional harm incidents, which is around 5 a day. This is a 25% increase from 2021, when the number was 1,387. The charity has released the heartbreaking figures as part of its Cancel Out Cruelty campaign in a bid to raise funds to help its frontline rescue teams continue to save animals from cruelty and abuse. It comes during a busy time for the animal welfare charity, which sees cruelty peak in the summer months, with 3 reports made every single minute. The cost of living crisis is also thought to be a contributing factor to an increase in deliberate harm to animals at a time when the cost of rescuing animals is at an all-time high and the RSPCA's vital services are stretched to the limit. Dr. Sam Gaines, head of the RSPCA's companion animal department, said, "Cats are one of the most popular pets in the UK, with an estimated 11 million pet cats in UK homes, but our figures suggest, sadly, they are the second most abused pet after dogs. It is heartbreaking to think that 5 cats every day are suffering at the hands of humans. It is really appalling. But sadly, the RSPCA knows all too well that this cruelty is carried out on a regular basis. We see hundreds of felines come through our doors every year who have been subjected to unimaginable cruelty, been beaten, burned, thrown around, had bones broken, been shot at, poisoned and drowned. Paul Williams, Chief Inspector for Hampshire, said, "Right now, animal cruelty is happening in England and Wales on a massive scale and rising. It is heartbreaking and that we see such sad figures which show animal cruelty is very sadly on the rise. While we don't know for certain why there has been an increase, the cost of living crisis and the post-pandemic world we live in has created an animal welfare crisis. It is not known why reports of animal cruelty peak in the summer months, although factors like animal abuse being more visible as people are outdoors more could be one factor. The RSPCA is the only charity rescuing animals and investigating cruelty in England and Wales, with a team of frontline rescue officers, specialist vet teams and a network of animal care centres, and 140 branches providing rehabilitation to animal victims. As the only charity in England and Wales investigating cruelty and rescuing animals, the RSPCA needs support to stay out on the front line. £2 could help to provide a meal for a cat or a dog in our care. £6 could help to pay to feed a dog for a day in our care. £10 could help pay towards bandages for a cat or dog. £15 could help pay for a cat or dog's clinical exam. £20 could help pay towards a bird catching kit. £30 could help pay for a life jacket for an inspector. £100 could pay towards water rescue equipment, and £500 could kit out a 4x4 inspector van. The RSPCA's frontline teams are working hard to rescue animals in need this summer, but we can't do it alone. We need your help to cancel out cruelty. To help support the RSPCA, please visit their website, which is www.rspca.org.uk/cruelty.
Hello, this is Lisa reading an article, Isle of Wight Sea Pool Survey 2023. Swim the Wight are developing a proposal for an accessible sea pool on the Isle of Wight. We would like to hear about your views and experience of sea swimming on the Isle of Wight, understanding why you sea swim around the island, and what you need to do it safely. This will help us develop a sea pool that can be used and enjoyed by everyone. A sea pool, also known as a sea-fed pool or tide pool, is a man-made outdoor pool built at the coast that is filled and refreshed with seawater at every high tide, and which remains filled with seawater during low tide. This means the sea pool can be used for swimming and other water-based activities regardless of tide or most wave conditions and throughout the year. Our vision is a safe, sheltered, inclusive and eco-friendly pool that is accessible and available to all. This survey is open to all residents and visitors to the Isle of Wight aged 18 and over. It's mainly designed for people who swim in the sea around the island and or people who are interested in using a sea-fed pool on the island, but everyone is welcome to complete the survey. It is an online survey, but you can receive a large print copy by emailing fkm1g21@soton, soton.ac.uk. That is F for Foxtrot, K for Kilo, M for Mike, number 1, G for Golf, number 2, number 1 at soton.ac.uk. Or call the office on 522205 and we can guide you towards it.
Hi, this is Steve reading a story from the Isle of Wight Observer, headlined Vandalism in Newport. Police have confirmed that roof tiles which smashed onto the pavement in High Street, Newport twice this week were thrown from the top of the card factory. The Isle of Wight Observer spoke to a local shopkeeper who said that youths had climbed onto the roof of the Poundland building and thrown the tiles and roof battens down on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings. It is believed that they accessed the roof from a fire escape at the rear of the building that is difficult to make secure due to health and safety rules. Police issued 2 statements. The first just to say that they had attended the scene on Tuesday and the incident was being dealt with by Highways. An Island Road spokesman said, "We received a call around 3:30 a.m. from the police about tiles which appear to have fallen from a roof. We have closed off the footway for safety reasons and referred the matter to Building Control, who initially deal with such issues. However, After the second incident, they confirmed, "We were called at 7:36 a.m. on Wednesday to reports of criminal damage to a roof on Newport High Street overnight. Tiles were thrown from a roof and debris had been located in the road. The area was again secured."
Hello, this is an article from the Island Echo read by Sue. Lib Dems Sarah Redrup announced as first candidate for Wootton by-election. Sarah Redrup has been selected as the Liberal Democrat candidate for the Wootton Bridge by-election, the first candidate to confirm their position ahead of next month's by-election. Sarah is an Isle of Wight businesswoman who runs Grace's Bakery alongside her family. She is a strong community advocate and has supported many local charitable projects across the island. She has a keen interest in island heritage and is a volunteer with Isle of Wight Steam Railway. She also enjoys sketching portraits and in her spare time runs art workshops for children and families. Chair of Isle of Wight Liberal Democrats Andrew Garrett says, "We're delighted that Sarah Redrup has put herself forward as our candidate. Through her voluntary and charitable work, she has shown deep commitment to helping local people. Together with her expertise as a businesswoman in a thriving local business, Sarah has the skills and experience to be an excellent councillor for Wootton Bridge residents." Commenting on her selection, Sarah Redrup says, "I feel very lucky to live on our beautiful island and even luckier that I get to spend every day with my parents, brothers and twin sister running Grace's. However, without the support of our community and our customers, especially during COVID lockdowns, our bakery wouldn't be what it is today. So I feel I have a duty to give back to the island where I can. Since 2017, I have supported many charitable projects, including helping to provide free meals for children during the summer holidays, raising thousands of pounds for the Isle of Wight Alzheimer's Cafe and volunteering for the Isle of Wight Steam Railway. When I'm not busy selling Belgian buns, you can see me sketching portraits. I am particularly inspired by Isle of Wight history. There are so many fascinating people here whose stories often go unheard. I draw them in hopes of keeping the history alive. I would love to do more to support the island and especially Wootton Bridge, a place that I spend a lot of time as a child and continue to enjoy today. Woodside Beach is my favourite place to go for some peace and quiet. I've always felt that the most important thing that a councillor can do is to listen and offer support for their residents when they aren't sure where they can turn for help. So, if elected, I will do my best to help residents navigate council services, be a listening ear and be a strong voice for Wootton Bridge." The by-election has been brought about by the resignation of convicted rapist Daryl Pitcher, as previously reported by Island Echo.
From the Island Echo, read by Lee. Latest cases at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court, 17th July to the 21st July 2023. This is your weekly roundup of some of the latest court cases heard at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court. The defendant's name, age, address and details of the charges and sentence are published in accordance with the Criminal Procedure Rule 5.8 as agreed by HMCTS and the Society of Editors and approved by the Lord Chancellor. Not all cases heard will appear on this roundup due to legal restrictions. This article is published from official information by HM Courts and Tribunal Service and is covered by disqualified privilege. Please note, names, details of convictions will not be removed from this article on the basis of the convicted individual or the families requesting such action. Monday the 17th of July to Friday the 21st July 2023. Jason Jauncey, 55, of Bank Passage and Ryde, was found guilty of disclosing a private sexual photograph without consent and pleaded guilty to malicious communications. He was made subject to a 12-month community order with 150 hours of unpaid work and 25 rehabilitation days attached. He was also made subject to a 12-month restraining order. He was ordered to pay £620 costs and a £95 surcharge. Kirsty Gibbons, 47, of Union Street in Newport, admitted to failing to comply with the requirements of a community order. The order was varied by magistrates with 30 rehabilitation days to be completed by November 2023. She was ordered to pay £60 costs. Stephen Miller, 60, of Care Avenue Road, Sandown, pleaded guilty to using threatening, abusive and insulting words and behaviour with intent to cause fear of or provoke unlawful violence and criminal damage. He was made subject to a 12-month community order with 6 months alcohol treatment and 25 rehabilitation days attached. He was ordered to pay £500 compensation. Emma Early, 40, of Parkhurst Road, Newport, pleaded guilty to failing to provide a specimen for analysis. She was given 10 penalty points on her licence, fined £80 and ordered to pay £85 costs with a £32 surcharge. Thomas Mason, 27, of Staplers Road, Newport, pleaded guilty to drink driving. He was banned for driving for 20 months, fined £120 and ordered to pay £85 costs with a £48 surcharge. Richard Taylor, 29, care of Mary Rose Avenue, Wootton, pleaded guilty to assault by beating. He was made subject to an 18-month community order with 32 rehabilitation days and 20 building better relationship days attached. He was fined £120 and ordered to pay £85 costs with a £114 surcharge. Louise Briscoe, 18, of Salters Road, Ryde, pleaded guilty to drug driving, cannabis, on an e-scooter. He was banned from driving for 12 months, fined £61 and ordered to pay £85 costs with a £26 surcharge. Daniel Poole, 50, of Sandham House, Fort Street, Sandown, pleaded guilty to possession of a controlled drug of Class A heroin. He was fined £120 and ordered to pay £85 costs. Lennon Lohman, 18, of Staplers Road, Newport, pleaded guilty to attempting to possess a controlled drug of Class B cannabis. He was fined £80 and ordered to pay £85 costs. Luke Williams, 36, of St John's Road, Ryde, pleaded guilty to obstructing or resisting a constable in execution of their duty. He was fined £80 and ordered to pay £85 costs. William Davis, 23, of Yarborough Road, East Cowes, pleaded guilty to possession of a controlled drug of Class B cannabis. He was fined £80 and ordered to pay £85 cost with a £32 surcharge. David Mears, 35, of Slade Road, Ryde, pleaded guilty to assault a person, thereby occasioning them actual bodily harm, and assault by beating. He was made a subject to a 12-month community order with 300 hours of unpaid work attached. He was ordered to pay £200 compensation, £85 costs, and £114 surcharge. Christopher Forshaw, 48, of Swanmore Road, Ryde, pleaded guilty to stalking without fear, alarm, or distress, criminal damage, and cultivating a cannabis plant, a Class B controlled drug. He was made subject to an 18-month community order with 200 hours of unpaid work and 25 rehabilitation days attached. He was also made subject to a 12-month restraining order. He was ordered to pay £125 compensation, £85 costs, and £114 surcharge.
This is Den reading a letter from the Isle of Wight Observer. Vectis View, John Nicholson, Chairman of Isle of Wight Camera. Amongst the many important posts that I have accumulated in my life is that of being Chairman of the Isle of Wight branch of CAMRA, Campaign for Real Ale. Founded in 1971 from an idea between four friends, CAMRA harnessed the hearts of many to become the most successful consumer campaign in Europe. The simple aim of the campaign was to stop the demise of traditional British cask beer, under threat from insipid sterile keg beer, Watney's Red Barrel being an example of what we were fighting against. Today, after decades of battle, we are inundated with choice, not just of live beers, real ale, but the new hyper-flavoured craft beers that take the beer tasting experience to exciting new levels of flavour. Coffee, sour fruit, intense hoppy bitterness, and many more examples, only limited by the creativity of the brewer. Why is this so important? It's only a drink, you might say, and there are plenty of alternatives. Yes, that is true, but there is far more to real ale than the superficiality of being just a mere drink. It is the unseen symbolism and traditional values that cask ale represents that are so important and viewed by so many as being worth fighting for. Cask conditioned ale is a history in a jar, something that remains peculiarly British, yet employs a process that is thousands of years old. Using natural enzymes to convert sugars results in a nutritional broth that, historically, was safer to drink than local water and contains essential vitamins and nutrients that boost the immune system. This is somewhat different to pasteurised or synthetically produced drinks, the distinguishing factor being that a real ale can undergo a secondary fermentation in its container. This secondary fermentation produces a light carbonation referred to as condition. Holding condition is a delicate matter, as too warm, above 13 degrees centigrade, the liquid loses its capacity to hold carbonation, taking on an unpleasant cloyed mouthfeel, difficult to drink. Too cold, beneath 11 degrees centigrade, and you risk coagulation of the yeast, tainting and flavour inhibition. Try drinking a commercial lager at real ale temperature and you may find the flavours are most disagreeable, unlike a traditional Rheinheitsgebot flavoured lager. In a world where many old-fashioned values seem to have been lost, you could be forgiven for thinking that drinking was all about the alcohol. The more liberal cultural attitude of our continental neighbours focuses on the social function that meeting for a drink brings, diffusing the negative effects that arise from our more prohibitive stance and the missed focus that results in, particularly with the young. When you delve into the history and tradition of real ale in Britain, you will find intrinsic links with the astonishing achievements of this country. A public house became a place where certain activities, symbolised by the pub sign, were conducted, where bankers and traders would set up stall, and people of different classes and interests could meet and engage on an equal basis. It was a place that stimulated ideas that gave birth to the Industrial Revolution, the Royal Society, and some of our greatest literary works. The world's most revolutionary book, Thomas Paine's The Rights of Man, was written in the Crown Inn, Lewes. The Eagle and Child in Oxford was a favourite watering hole for Tolkien. It is for this reason so many people have given support to the tradition of cask ale, because of what it represents and the great history that it has facilitated. It is truly history in a jar.
Hello, this is an article from the Island Echo, read by Sue. Swim the Wight gets foundation grant for support van. Cold water swimming has become a hot topic over the last few years, and the Isle of Wight, being surrounded by sea, is joining in the boom. One group that is making sure the sea is safe and accessible to swimmers of all abilities is Swim the Wight. The group has received £16,000 grant from the Isle of Wight Foundation, made up of partners behind Island Roads, towards the support vehicle for group swims that take place on island beaches. Every week, more than 60 swimmers benefit mentally and physically from the safe sea swim sessions run by this social enterprise. Swim the Wight runs sea cafe sessions for people to have a dip and a social cuppa afterwards at Yaverland and other spots around the island. Now it is campaigning for a multifunctional, accessible, 50-metre plus tidal-fed sea pool between two groins at Sandown. As well as sea swimming, the pool would be used by kayakers and for scuba training. Welcoming the funding for the van from the Isle of Wight Foundation, Swim the Wight founder Victoria Thornton Field said, "I want to thank the foundation for this grant, which will help support our growing venture. I would also like to thank the Isle of Wight Sports Foundations for its financial support, which, again, has been most welcome." Rob Gillespie, chairman of the Isle of Wight Foundation, which comprises Meridian, Isle of Wight Roads, Ringway Island Roads and Vinci Concessions, said, "The mental and physical benefits of sea swimming are now well known, so we are pleased to support Swim the Wight with this grant." Claire Beasley, chair of the Isle of Wight Sports Foundation, added, "When we heard of the good work being done by Swim the Wight to improve mental and physical well-being, our trustees were happy to support a grant towards the purchase of the support vehicle."
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from the Isle of Wight Observer. This one headlined, "Call for National Body to Object to House Plans." Isle of Wight CPRE, the countryside charity, has asked Natural England to object to a proposed development of 56 homes on a greenfield site outside Bembridge on the grounds of inadequate drainage plans. Ian Welby, a charity trustee, said, "This development would plug into the already inadequate Lane End sewage outfall, which currently discharges sewage yards from the beach directly into the specially protected marine conservation zone, equivalent to 251 Olympic swimming pools worth of sewage released in a year. Connecting yet more houses into a sewage system already not fit for purpose is pure folly." The application is expected to go before the Isle of Wight Council Planning Committee on Tuesday, July the 25th.
From the Island Echo, read by Lee. Crown Court date for Newport man alleged to have sexually abused a child. An Isle of Wight man who is alleged to have sexually abused a child will appear at the Isle of Wight Crown Court next month. Adrian Colvin, 27, of Pennycrest Drive in Newport, appeared before magistrates on Tuesday the 25th of July, charged with 2 times assaulting a girl under 13 by penetration with a part of body, 2 times assault a girl under 13 by touching, and 1 times an adult engaged in sexual activity with a girl under 13 and no penetration. The offences are alleged to have taken place between June 2018 and December 2021 here on the Isle of Wight. No pleas were entered and the case was sent straight to the Isle of Wight Crown Court. Colvin will appear before a judge on the 29th of August 2023. He has been released on unconditional bail until that time.
This is Den reading a letter from Island Roads. One of our members approached Island Roads for answers as to what the new look Newport was going to look like. Ruth Hollinshead has represented our members' needs on the planning of the new design Newport, trying to ensure the needs of both long cane users and guide dog users that are taken into account as plans have unfolded. Here is their reply. Dear Miss X, thank you for your inquiry of the 24th of July concerning the local authorities' proposals for the Newport High Street Heritage Action Zone project. The scheme will see all the existing pavements along the High Street between St James's Square and Holyrood Street repaved. All the main changes to this section of the High Street will involve the existing car parking space area in the carriageway. A lot of the car parking is to be removed, and areas of low-level planting and shrubs are to be introduced to assist with drainage, along with areas of widened footway with additional seating areas introduced to improve the street scene and environment for all pedestrians. The scheme will still retain 3 parking spaces for the general public, along with 3 disabled parking spaces and the existing loading bay for shop deliveries. The scheme does not propose any shared space, so all motor vehicles and cyclists will continue to use the main carriageway, and I can reassure you that the existing pedestrian crossing near Boots will remain in its current location, along with an additional uncontrolled crossing outside the business known as Trespass. I hope this eases your concerns over the proposals, but if you have any further inquiries or wish to discuss, please do not hesitate to contact us. As further information comes out, we will ensure it is passed on.
Hi, this is Steve reading another story from the Isle of Wight Observer, headlined Citizens Advice Reorganisation. The Island Citizens Advice Service, a charity that gives free, independent, impartial and confidential advice to anyone who needs it, has been forced to reorganise its services, resulting in a number of cutbacks and redundancies. Announcing the changes, Trustee and former High Sheriff Gioia Minghella Giddens said, "There has been some talk nationally about the squeeze on funding for citizens' advice across the country. We know how vital our service is to island residents and that they might worry about how this will affect our local service. We want to reassure them that we are working hard to ensure the future of our charity through turbulent times. It is true that, like all charities, we have experienced a squeeze on funding over the last few years. Inflation has compounded the impact. Despite all that, we know how much our service is needed, so we are taking the steps necessary to secure our future. It's a challenge, and dealing with it requires some tough but necessary decisions. We have reluctantly had to make the difficult move to reorganise our service, and this has resulted very sadly in a number of redundancies and considerable distress to the individuals concerned. We understand and share their distress. Having explored all other options, however, we were left with no other choice. Even so, our overall position is strong. We would like to offer islanders the reassurance that we have a clear focus on sustainability and the quality of the service we can offer. We are very proud of our staff, for whom this remains a very worrying and uncertain phase, particularly as the reorganisation has had to take place over an extended period of time. We are committed to a future in which CAIW is there for those who need us. Not everyone realises that Citizens Advice is an independent charity, reliant on gifts, donations and grants. If anyone would like to donate to the service or get involved as a volunteer, we can assure you of a warm welcome and the reward of being part of one of the most important and respected organisations of the Isle of Wight. My mother Gloria was a passionate advocate for the mission and values of Citizens Advice and was chairman of the board for many years. Like her and my fellow trustees, I am privileged to be able to give service to the island through this most important of charities.
Hello, this is Francis reading the Talking News.
And this is Mike. Hello everyone.
Before we start the second part of the Talking News, here is this week's Society News, 28th of July 2023. All our activities have now finished for our August break, and we hope you all have an enjoyable summer. The office will still remain open Mondays to Fridays between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. for any inquiries, and of course the weekly Talking News will be recorded and sent out.
The fortnightly tennis is now up and running at the Ryde Mead Club in Church Lane, Ryde. The next session is on this Monday, the 31st of July, starting at 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. The group are inviting anyone to go along and try, and will make you very welcome.
Our Eye on Social welcomed Deb Goodenough this week to Millbrook. Sadly, we only had a few members and friends attend, but everyone enjoyed Deb's talk about her work at English Heritage and Highgrove.
Newport Carnival was disappointingly cancelled due to the terrible summer weather, but we hope to enter the Illuminated on the 24th of August.
Advance notice, we will be at Warverton Gardens Show on September the 2nd and 3rd and looking for new items for our Tombola store. If you have any, could you please let us know?
Hopefully, by now, you will have received our newsletter. So if you would like to come along to Warner's in October or Wet Wheels in September, please call the office and put your names on the list.
Hands up if you have the answer. Children's Services Partnership to end. Discussions start, but future uncertain. A comment would not be appropriate, the Isle of Wight Council has said, about how it deals with empty seats in our classrooms, support for children now unable to attend the Island Learning Centre, and training and support for teachers after the proposed termination of an agreement with Hampshire County Council. The two counties have been working together since 2013, when Ofsted ruled the Isle of Wight's children's services was inadequate. An Isle of Wight Council spokesperson said, "Discussions are in the early stages and it would not be appropriate to comment on detailed aspects of the future arrangements. However, until the partnership is terminated, all arrangements will remain the same." The news of the change was sudden, according to Isle of Wight Council leader Laura P.C. Wilcox. When it broke on July the 21st, she told the county press there had been no advance notice. "We were taken aback to be informed of Hampshire's decision, although we were already evaluating the ongoing support from Hampshire due to some issues. We were looking to raise these issues in negotiations over the future of the arrangement." She said County Hall would be seeking support from the government and other potential partners, and after what she called the relationship's unplanned termination, it has now been revealed a review of the working agreement was due to take place anyway this year, after a renewal in 2018. Questions have been asked about whether the Isle of Wight Council was fully prepared for that review, but it declined to comment.
All hands on deck for Cows Week 2023. One of the Isle of Wight's most iconic events, Cows Week 2023, officially starts today, which is Friday. Action on the water starts tomorrow, Saturday, July the 29th, but there's plenty to keep visitors busy shoreside in the meantime. The Regatta Village lines the parade, and there will be things to do at both Cowes Yacht Haven and at Northwood House. On the parade, there will be a wide range of retailers, local businesses and charities, including the Royal Navy and the Tall Ships Youth Trust. Also on site will be the Sea Changes Village Bar, Ale for Sale and the Isle of Wight Cocktail Company, where you can grab a drink or two. A selection of food will be available, and there will be live music from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. each day. The Yacht Haven's main hospitality area will be open between 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. and there will be a small stage, food and a bar. Among the musicians performing throughout the week at various venues included is the local acts Blonde Bombshell, Emily Wilde, Ollie Ducey, 3010, Black Daniels, The Omps and Ben Stubbs. Find all the entertainment on the Cows Week app, in the official programme or on the Cows Week website. Northwood House has attractions and entertainment, including the Tea Gardens, open between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. The Lawn Bar Mermaid Garden is back with nightly live music, open from lunchtime and free to enter before 9 p.m. most nights. New for 2023, Northwood House is playing host to an art and light experience set in a large inflatable. Tickets must be bought in advance. On August the 3rd and 6th, a family tree climbing experience will be at Northwood Park. In the town centre you will find musicians, hair braiding and more. Prize giving will be at Cowes Yacht Haven on Finale Friday. The Royal Navy Guardship will perform its ceremonial role for the whole of the regatta. Book a slot on a spectator boat from Trinity Landing 3 times a day. This year's official Cows Week programme has been introduced in association with the County Press.
Council counts the cost of vandals. The cost of constant and reckless vandalism in Ventnor has been raised as a concern by the Town Council. Council Health and Safety Officer Nigel Slater Bishop said damage to council property had cost £3,850 and a combined 60 hours of labour in recent months. He said the authority had been facing an uphill battle against the constant and reckless vandalism throughout the town, adding it eats into valuable resources, not only financially, but also many hours of labour for our workforce. The vandalism has led to the closure of areas and facilities while repairs are carried out. A statement on the Town Council's website read, "It is clearly not a good advert for our town. Ventnor is a special place with an unrivalled community spirit. This level of vandalism and antisocial behaviour currently is becoming unbearable. There have been fires, graffiti and damage to baby changing unit at the Central Car Park community toilets, broken toilet seats, paddling pool damage, malicious placement of broken glass near the paddling pool and blocked sinks. The council has installed CCTV at Central Car Park, but has asked the public to get in touch with their suggestions of how to combat the issue."
Win with County Press and J Miller's Circus. Will you be a winner with J Miller's Circus and the County Press this week? We have an amazing 10 family tickets to give away, each giving a family of 4 the chance to enjoy some big top action. If you are lucky enough to win one, you can use it any day except Saturdays at the circus next to the racecourse roundabout. To be in with a chance, answer the following question and email competition@iwcp.co.uk. Don't forget to include your full contact details. The question is this: what are the 2 main colours on the J Miller's Circus Big Top tent? The competition closes on Thursday, August 3rd at 9 a.m. and we will contact you if you are a winner. Terms and conditions apply, and good luck.
High Street Police Hub revealed. An island high street looks set to get a permanent police presence after plans for a new base were approved, but there will be no unannounced public visits for those reporting crimes. The former Watson Bull and Porter base on Cowes High Street will now house Cowes Neighbourhood Police Team. The plans were lodged by the Office of the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police and Crime Commissioner, which determines how police funding is spent in a bid to make policing more visible. There will be no front counter. Instead, there will be an area designated for pre-arranged public appointments and a police telephone outside the building. On Tuesday, July the 25th, the Isle of Wight Council approved plans to change the front of the shop and to create an office and rest area for officers. Proposals come nearly 9 years after Cowes Police Station on Birmingham Road was vacated. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary does still have offices in the town. Isle of Wight Council planning officers say in their decision notice the High Street shop's timber frontage is in a poor state and beyond viable repair, so it will be replaced by a very similar timber shop front.
Man saved after boat capsizes. A man's life was saved thanks to the quick thinking of 2 ferry companies on July the 20th after a sailing boat capsized. Bembridge Coast Guard rescue team was called out along with the Isle of Wight ambulance service at 1:38 p.m. following reports of a man in the water near Fishbourne. White Links Victoria of Wight crew spotted a man clinging to the hull of a capsized sailing boat, calling for help. A crew from Rebel Marine was first on the scene after hearing a Mayday broadcast, and White Links sent rescue boats. The man was pulled out of the water and was taken to the Royal Victoria Yacht Club pontoon, where he explained he had been in the water for 20 minutes and had let off a flare to attract attention. A person for White Links said, "We're very pleased that the casualty in this case was recovered from the water in good health. A huge well done to all involved for jumping into action so quickly." Bembridge Coast Guard rescue team said, "I have no doubt the collaborative working of White Link and Rebel Marine saved this casualty's life. Well done, great job." The man was taken to St Mary's Hospital.
Floating bridge won't run for Cowes Week. Will the floating bridge be back in time for Cowes Week? Its computer says no. Its brain is fried, East Cowes Councillor Carl Love told the county press on Thursday. It means the troubled vessel is expected to be out of action for at least the next 3 weeks. A foot passenger replacement service, the Jenny Lee, will operate in its place, but its last launch will be at 11:15 p.m, putting locals and visiting Cowes Week sailors on a curfew when it comes to travelling across the River Medina. Councillor Love said he has asked the Isle of Wight Council to commission a night bus service via Newport to mitigate the impact. He told the county press, "Essentially, the main components of the computer which operates the floating bridge have completely failed, and it looks like it's going to have a completely new system." Councillor Love said he has been told the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency will not allow it to operate. A spokesman for the Isle of Wight Council said, following the unexpected breakdown of the floating bridge's technical software and programming system, which controls numerous aspects of the vessel's operational system, including its safety systems, contractors have been engaged to resolve the issue. Unfortunately, this process is anticipated to take up to 3 weeks, and therefore the floating bridge will be out of service for Cowes Week 2023. It is essential the floating bridge adheres to MCA requirements. The launch service Jenny Lee for foot passengers and cyclists operates from 5 a.m. to 11:15 p.m. daily and between 6:30 a.m. and 11:15 p.m. on Sunday, July the 30th. Passengers are advised to allow additional time for the journey at peak times. We sincerely apologise for any inconvenience this may cause. Between 11:15 p.m. and 12:45 a.m, a private water taxi will operate at a charge of £5 per person in cash. The crossing must be booked on 07551 431 993 or 07974 864 627. A software issue saw the vessel pulled from service on July the 16th, the latest in a long line of problems. It has not returned since.
Discount store on the move. A major brand is set to swap one Isle of Wight high street shop for another. Poundland, in Ryde town centre, is moving up the road to the former home of M & Co, the county press can reveal. The building, which once homed Woolworths, has sat empty since the closure of the clothing retailer. As reported, the future of the chain had been in doubt since December 2022, when administrators were appointed. In February, it was confirmed all M & Co shops would shut, and in April, Ryde staff took to Facebook to bid an emotional farewell. Following its closure, plans were lodged to the Isle of Wight Council to demolish half the Ryde store and build flats on its delivery side. Poundland first opened in Ryde in 2015 and is currently based at 15 to 16 High Street. The building was formerly home to Sinclair Young's Euronics. Plans to relocate the shop up the road form part of proposals to open or relocate 50 new shops nationally. The county press understands the move will see more jobs created. It's understood Poundland is set to open at the former M & Co store on September the 23rd.
End of era for Regatta Broadcasts. An award-winning radio station, which has been at the heart of Cowes Week for more than 3 decades, has announced it will not operate this year. A struggle for funding and support saw the team from Cowes Radio announce the decision, saying, "The heart's not there anymore." It brings an end to the familiar sound which has been reporting on sailing action at the regatta for 36 years. Cowes Radio 87.9 FM is synonymous with the week-long regatta. As well as live coverage, its presenters have also broadcast interviews with celebrities, skippers, crews, and the event's organisers to the onshore crowd. The official Cows Week website states, Cows Radio is a really useful way of finding out what's going on with the up-to-the-minute daily guide to what's on and who's doing what. The broadcast team said, sad to report, but we will not be broadcasting at Cows Week or the Fastnet due to a lack of support and funds. End of a 36-year era of outstanding award-winning radio at the heart of the regatta, but the heart's not there anymore. Cows Week starts tomorrow and runs till August the 4th.
Double-decker bus and van collide. Ventnor's Ocean View Road was blocked on Sunday, July the 23rd, when a Southern Vectis double-decker bus and a Ford Transit van was involved in a collision. It happened at the junction of Newport Road and Gilcliffe Road. Photos showed damage caused to the inside of the bus as well as a smashed windscreen. Passengers and the driver were not hurt, said the bus operator. Southern Vectis confirmed an investigation had been launched. David Miller, Assistant Operations Manager, said, the Route 3 was on diversion while recovery of our vehicle took place. We are carrying out an immediate investigation to confirm the cause of the incident.
Drug dealer is given 3 years in prison. A man who gained significant income from drug dealing has been jailed for 3 years. Kenneth Gladys of Spanners Close, Chale Green, was sentenced at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Friday, July the 21st, and was also ordered to pay a surcharge of £158. The court heard that the 48-year-old was found in possession of 68.1 grams of cocaine on May the 5th, 2021. He was arrested and was later charged with possession of a controlled Class A drug with intent to supply. He initially denied the offence, but later pleaded guilty following an appearance at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on June the 22nd, 2023. Prosecuting Tim Devlin said Gladys, who has 13 previous convictions for 21 non-drug related offences, had previously argued the small supply was for friends and personal use. However, court heard a tick list demonstrated he had made some profit from dealing. Jim Osborne, defending, argued Gladys was himself an addict, coerced into dealing drugs to pay back debts owed to suppliers. The mitigation was not accepted by Judge William Ashworth, who said the defence could not produce evidence to support it. Mr. Osborne called the arrest a wake-up call, adding Gladys had sought help from inclusion. Gladys, who cares for 3 family members, had not taken drugs since and now puts his family above his addiction, Mr. Osborne said. Judge Ashworth said Gladys was dealing to a limited number of people, but there was evidence to suggest that he was making a significant income.
Arrests after a woman suffers stab wounds. 2 arrests have been made after a woman suffered stab wounds in Northwood. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary said it was called to Pallants Road at 6:24 a.m. on Wednesday, July the 26th. A 27-year-old woman was assaulted at the address, police said. Officers said she was taken to hospital to be treated for stab wounds to her arm and bruising. Her injuries were not thought to be serious or life-threatening, it was reported. A 26-year-old man from Cowes was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm with intent. A 29-year-old woman from Cowes was also detained by police on suspicion of false imprisonment.
Man's body found in woodland. The body of a man has been discovered in woodland in Binsted. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary confirmed officers were called to a wooded area near Ryde House on Thursday, July the 20th. A police spokesperson said at 1:26 p.m. on July the 20th, police were called after the body of a man was found in a wooded area near Ryde House Drive. The death is not being treated as suspicious. A file is being prepared for the coroner, the force added.
Seafront restaurant shutting up shop. Ryde's Craft Vegan Restaurant and Grind number 9 coffee shop will close later this year. Found on the Esplanade, the restaurant opened in December 2020 with an aim to be fun and enjoyable place to hang out. The coffee shop followed later. The business started as a pizza pop-up during the COVID-19 lockdown and ended up becoming its own restaurant. In April, Craft underwent a rebrand, switching up logos of streamlining the kitchen and the bar to focus on what it does best, beer and pizza. However, announcing the news in a Facebook post, co-owner Charlotte confirmed she would be closing the doors for the last time on Saturday, September the 2nd. She said, "So much love to everyone who has supported myself, Daz, and the whole team who helped the venture grow. We hope you have made great memories eating pizza and drinking beer." The business is up for sale, and Charlotte says she is open to offers. It remains open across the summer. The business post continued. If you love our building and location and see yourself starting your own venture in our restaurant, then drop me a message and I can look you up with the landlord.
Patients at closing GPs to be moved. Plans are afoot to move patients of Ryde's Argyle House GP surgery to other practices in or as near to the town as possible, the island's MP has told the county press. Bob Seeley said he has had an urgent conversation with health officials over the closure of the surgery. As reported last week by the county press, the GP practice on Argyle Street has issued a notice of closure to health bosses. When the news was shared on the surgery's website, it prompted an outcry of concern from patients. Mr. Seeley said, "I have been reassured they and the doctors are working on plans to transfer patients from Argyle House to other GP practices in or as near as possible to Ryde. I want to reassure people that no one will be left without a GP, and people in Ryde will be found another GP in Ryde. Argyle House cares for thousands of patients in Ryde, Wootton Bridge and the surrounding villages, and has been open for more than 25 years. Patients have been told they will be kept informed and to do nothing at the moment. The surgery remains open." Mr. Seeley added, "I also want to reassure islanders I have asked health officials to provide for the island an outline of how we will get more availability at GP surgeries, with doctors and other expert staff such as practice nurses and pharmacists, but also more NHS dentist availability too. For minor ailments, islanders are encouraged to visit their local pharmacy for help and advice. Meanwhile, the organisation that represents patients said it is deeply concerned and saddened. Healthwatch Isle of Wight said, "We know clinicians from the Hampshire and Isle of Wight integrated care system are working hard to support patients. We have offered to support commissioners to hold public meetings or drop-in sessions where patients can go to ask questions and learn about what their options are. We will inform the public of the details of these meetings as soon as they have been arranged." Ryde, Apley and Elmfield councillor Michael Lilly said he is trying to find out the reasons behind the decision.
Drink driving travel agent is disqualified. A travel agent who was almost 3 times the drink drive limit crashed her Mitsubishi car shortly after dropping passengers off in Shanklin, Isle of Wight, magistrates were told. Eleanor Gower Crane of Osborne Road, East Cowes, admitted drink driving in Lake on the evening of February the 18th. After a night out with friends, Gower Crane dropped off her passengers. A short time later, while the 26-year-old was heading towards her former home in Seaview, she crashed her car and fractured her arm, said Anisa Al-Rubi, prosecuting at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on Friday, July the 14th. After failing a roadside breath test, Gower Crane provided a further test reading nearly 3 times the drink drive limit. For Gower Crane, Oscar Vincent said his client had been in a coercive relationship and was by February consuming alcohol. On the night in question, Gower Crane was on a rare day out with a female friend and drank without the intention of driving, Mr. Vincent said. During the day, however, she received a barrage of texts and calls from her partner, checking who she was with and what she was doing, Mr. Vincent said. It was continuous, and she felt she had no option but to drive home as soon as she could. She dropped her passengers off, which was wrong, before she had the accident. She suffered significant injury, breaking her arm in several places. She may also have suffered some nerve damage. She has since ended the relationship and has referred herself to alcohol and drug intervention services. She has rarely drunk since. When sentencing Gower Crane, presiding magistrate Fiona Gornall said, "We are very aware you have not been in trouble before, but others were involved, and it was very, very fortunate no one else was injured." Gower Crane was banned from driving for 25 months with a year's probation, which includes 60 hours unpaid work, £85 costs and £114 surcharge.
Shocking injury for rugby player. A player with the top Isle of Wight rugby club suffered a horrific injury in a beach rugby match just a few hours into the opening day of the South Island Sevens event in Ryde. Sandown and Shanklin Rugby Club seconds player Luke Orton broke his neck during the men's elite beach fives tournament at Apley Beach on Saturday morning, July the 22nd. The 26-year-old was playing for the Ryde Rhinos against the Sketty Hoops. The alarm was raised at 12:20 p.m. The Isle of Wight NHS Trust confirmed it received a 999 call and an ambulance attended the scene. Luke was transferred by ambulance to St Mary's Hospital in Newport. Initially, Bembridge Coast Guard rescue team and Ryde Beach lifeguards also provided medical care. A fundraising page through crowdfunding was quickly set up. Its creator, fellow Rhinos player Michael Cooper, said, "Luke has broken his neck, C5 vertebrae, which has pressed onto his spinal cord and left him currently unable to feel anything from the chest down. A truly scary situation for anyone to be in." On social media, Luke's family said he was flown to Southampton General Hospital to be looked after in intensive care. He is expected to stay there for a week or so and faces an operation, physiotherapy and rehab. A £2,000 target was rapidly met, and by Wednesday the total was heading towards £9,000. Like anyone, Luke is just a normal guy with bills to pay, with a family and friends worried sick about him and what the future holds, said Michael. "We are looking to raise some money to help cover travel costs, time off work, and anything else the family may need during this terrible time. Any money raised, but not required to help, will then be donated to a rugby injury charity or one to support others in similar situations." Luke is a larger-than-life character, so the news has left everyone who knows him shocked and so worried. But we all know he is a fighter and won't quit, so we'll do everything he can to be back to normal. To donate, visit justgiving.com/crowdfunding/Luke Orton.
Fine for man who trashed town pub. A man who smashed the door of a Sandown pub with a bat, causing hundreds of pounds worth of damage and forcing staff to barricade themselves in, has been sentenced. Stephen Miller, of no fixed abode, but formerly of Avenue Road, Sandown, appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates on Tuesday, July the 18th. The 60-year-old previously appeared on June the 21st when he admitted criminal damage and a public order offence. On April the 15th, Miller was drinking on his own in the Tap pub on Avenue Road, Anne Smout, prosecuting, said. He talked to a group of women at the bar, but was told to go away after making reference to his time in prison. Mrs. Smout said Miller was later told to leave the venue and he made a threat, telling staff, "You won't have a pub when I come back." Staff called the police and were told to lock the door. Miller returned with a bat and smashed in the door, causing £786 worth of damage, the court heard. Miller was arrested and later, in a police interview, said he drank too much and was sorry, but denied making threats. Representing himself, Miller said he had drunk 10 pints and had a habit of following through with things he said. He told the court that prior to the incident, he had not consumed alcohol for around 2 years. Miller was handed a 12 months community order and 25 rehabilitation activity requirement days. Due to his means, magistrates ordered him to pay £500 in compensation.
Strictly star enjoys seaside trip. Big Brother host and Strictly Come Dancing star AJ Odudu posted social media pictures of herself enjoying a trip to the Isle of Wight. The presenter shared a video on her Instagram story showing her running along Sandown Beach with the pier in the background. Another picture was uploaded with the caption, "It's freezing, but in my mind it's tropical." She also posed with a surfboard. The presenter commented to say she was running to see Emmy Award-winning screenwriter and Ireland resident Vicky Lutas and her family. Vicky is best known for the popular Netflix drama Free Rein, which she co-created with Anna McCleary. The show is set on an island inspired by the Isle of Wight, and in 2018 it was named Best Children's Programme at the Daytime Emmys. Meanwhile, AJ is no stranger to the island. She co-presented the Sky Arts coverage of the Isle of Wight Festival in 2012. In 2021, she appeared on the 19th series of Strictly Come Dancing, but was forced to pull out of the show a day before the final after suffering an injury. This year she will co-host the revival of Big Brother. The show is set to air on ITV2 in October.
Harbour plans floated. Dilapidated buildings and a former boatyard overlooking a harbour could be transformed. Plans have been lodged by Mr. M. Meisels to rejuvenate land on Embankment Road in Bembridge, incorporating Bembridge Boatyard, Pilot House and Quayside. The house and former commercial buildings could be demolished and replaced with 19 industrial units used for general industrial or storage for boat maintenance, and a new house. 5 units could be built on the boatyard site and 14 on the quayside, which will be an expansion of the neighbouring and near completed Marine Works industrial site. The business units could be made of green corrugated sheeting. The proposed pilot's house, which could replace the existing accommodation of the same name, could include a media room, pool, 5 bedrooms and a roof terrace area. The site looks out towards Bembridge Harbour and backs onto Brading Marshes. Planning documents submitted to the Isle of Wight Council say the development is consistent with the character of the wider area and sympathetic to the site and neighbouring properties.
It's improving, but there's more to do. It is an improving school, but Carisbrooke College has been unable to upgrade its Ofsted rating. Part of the Isle of Wight Education Federation, the secondary was handed a requires improvement rating again by the education watchdog following an inspection in May. Head of school, Karen Begley, said the team is relentlessly committed to further improving the experiences of pupils to ensure they obtain the very best possible outcomes. Inspectors noted pupils learn in a calm and orderly environment where their achievements are celebrated and rewarded, which helps them recognise the importance of doing their best. Pupils who go to the school's special education unit, the Einstein Centre, receive thoughtful care and support where needs are carefully identified and adaptations are made. In 3 out of 4 of the inspection criteria, the college was rated good, but quality of education still requires improvement. Learning across subjects is inconsistent, inspectors said. While leaders have focused on making improvements to the quality of the curriculum and teaching, its changes have not yet resulted in pupils receiving good quality of learning across the school. A standard lesson format has been implemented to help pupils build their knowledge and understanding, but not all teachers use this consistently. Processes to identify and fill gaps in pupils' learning are not being used effectively by teachers, inspectors said, which meant pupils did not have a strong enough foundation of knowledge to build on and do not achieve as well as staff want them to. The school is improving and leaders are implementing measures to increase how much pupils learn in readiness for future education or employment. Staff are proud to work at the school and share leaders' commitment to the school's improvement journey. Matthew Parr-Berman, IWEF Executive Head Teacher, said the college will continue to implement and embed improvement strategies and ensure consistency across all areas. He said, "We are ambitious for our young people and want them to achieve even higher in the future. I am proud of the progress that is evident within this report and the hard work and dedication of our staff."
Ex-PCs guilty of misconduct. 3 former Isle of Wight police officers have been found guilty of gross misconduct. One was dismissed and the other 2 would have been if they had not already resigned. PC Jonathan Waldock, former PC Daniel Whiting and former PC Nicholas Dove attended a report of a robbery. On return to the police station, they were overheard making inappropriate, homophobic and discriminatory comments about the robbery victim. None of the officers challenged the offensive comments. The making of inappropriate, homophobic and/or discriminatory comments breached the standards of professional behaviour in relation to authority, respect and courtesy, equality, and diversity and discreditable conduct. Failing to challenge or report the officer breached the standards of professional behaviour in relation to challenging and reporting improper conduct and discreditable conduct. There was a further allegation against PC Dove that he made inappropriate, offensive, sexual and homophobic comments while attending to someone who was reporting a crime. The panel found the gross misconduct was proven and PC Waldock was dismissed, and that the other 2 former PCs, Dove and Whiting, would have been had they not already resigned. Assistant Chief Constable Stuart Murray told the county press, "Such discriminatory and derogatory language and behaviour has absolutely no place in policing, and it is deeply upsetting that these officers felt that they could act in such a way. Our Chief Constable has made it very clear that victims should be at the very heart of everything we do, and what happened in this case clearly goes against this. Regardless of who said what, they were all part of the conversation, and at no point did one of them do what is expected of them and challenge the obviously offensive comments. There is no excuse for this, and we all have a responsibility to take action against those who corrupt policing with such hateful and unacceptable behaviour. It damages the public's confidence in us and undermines the great work being done every day by our team to make our communities safer. We are talking robust action when it comes to the tackling misconduct to ensure there is no place for this type of appalling behaviour within the force."
Now, white memories and nostalgia. When islanders took to the skies. If you had money in the 1920s, the world was your oyster. You could own a car, a telephone, a fridge, a washing machine, and even a radio to listen to the new BBC. As if that wasn't enough, the really well-heeled could take to the air. By the start of the 1930s, there were several airports in operation on the island. flights to Portsmouth took just 7.5 minutes, and for £1.40 you could take off from Cowes Airport at Somerton on the site of today's BAE Systems and touch down in London just 40 minutes later. Really? As the county press reported, on May the 13th, 1933, the latest evidence of local aviation progress can be found in our advertisement columns. Spartan Airlines are introducing a daily service between the island and London from May the 12th. A 6-seater Spartan cruiser will leave the island, Cowes and Ryde aerodromes, for London Victoria Airway Terminus and Heston Aerodrome, morning and late afternoon. The trip takes 40 minutes over beautiful country. The single fare to London is 28 shillings and the return 55 shillings. Passengers leaving Cowes at 8:30 and Ryde at 8:40 a.m, arriving at Heston Airport at 9:20 and at Victoria at 10:10 a.m. 40 minutes to London. No wonder the service was a hit. The county press, reporting in August 1934, said the record of passengers carried by Spartan Airways between Croydon and Bembridge Aerodrome this season shows how remarkably popular air travel has become. From July the 1st until last Saturday, just over 2,000 passengers were carried. The busiest day was Saturday, August the 4th, when 164 passengers were carried. The traffic has necessitated as many as 4 machines flying on the service at a time. It is interesting to note that about 60% of the passengers are from Sandown and District, 20% from Bembridge and 20% from Seaview.
When islanders took to the skies. By 1947, those with deep pockets could even fly to New York. One such traveller was Mrs. Dixon, wife of J. Arthur Dixon of postcard fame, with printing works along Forest Road. On February the 22nd, 1947, under the headline Local Ladies' Air Trip to America, the county press reported, Mrs. J. A. Dixon of Shanklin has arrived in New York after her Atlantic flight on a business tour. She left Prestwick Airport on Friday in a 4-engine Skymaster plane and arrived at Gander Airport, Newfoundland, 12 hours later. Speaking to her husband on the transatlantic telephone on Saturday after her arrival in New York, Mrs. Dixon said that shortly after taking off from Gander, trouble developed in one of the starboard engines, which finally stopped, and the plane was obliged to return for repairs, causing 2 hours delay. Mrs. Dixon said that the crossing was fairly smooth, but she had been unable to sleep owing to the noise of the engines, and she was extremely tired. Although she would not have missed the experience, she would not care to make such a long trip by air again unless it was absolutely necessary. New York, she said, had got everything that we have not. Marvellous food, clothes and shops. She returns by the Queen Elizabeth on April the 9th. 2 years later, wealthy Londoners could enjoy a day trip to the island by air. Under the headline Travel to the Island, the county press of June the 18th, 1949 reported, in the Sunday Times this week, Elizabeth Nicholas, the travel correspondent, wrote, "Last weekend, I booked a seat on a plane leaving Croydon and flew to the Isle of Wight in 30 minutes. The return fare cost 78 shillings. I had, I must confess, never visited the Isle of Wight before, and I was most agreeably impressed by its charm. The island has been but lightly touched by the brutish hand of progress, and the coastal towns have the authentic atmosphere of the old-fashioned seaside resort, which depends on sun and smooth sand and a safe sea for its living. There was a most pleasing tranquillity about it all, and an excellent lunch at a small inn was some compensation for the shrimp tea which I was unable to obtain. What a lovely day out! But whether Elizabeth would say today the island has escaped the brutish hand of progress is another matter.
Opinion by Laurie Little and Lucy Morgan. Success is in the beholder's eye. One of the greatest privileges of being co-editors of the County Press is the opportunity to celebrate achievement. Since 1884, our island-based team behind your established weekly newspaper and, nowadays, the Isle of Wight's leading news website has been able to offset the weighty stories that you expect with the ones we can all smile at. And by smile at, we mean smile with the people who feature in them. Since we took the reins in March, we have been bowled over by your success stories. Hearing from those who have changed lives, won medals, broken records, or enjoyed personal success means we get a chance to celebrate with you and share your news, so we can celebrate with you. We get to live vicariously, if you will. The Isle of Wight in the summer is simply brimming with stories like these, and this year there has been the added bonus of the Island Games. When we waved off an excited mixed band of young athletes and more experienced sporting names, we did so knowing that whatever happened, those taking part in June's inter-island competition would have something positive to smile or shout about. Let's look at the results. The Isle of Wight finished 5th with 15 golds, 15 silvers and 8 bronzes, our best performance since 2011, when our lovely island last hosted, and our 6th best performance in the last 18 years. Some turned out to be medal heroes, with more than one weighing them down at the closing ceremony. But anyone weighing up this year's precious metal in a bid to work out if Team Isle of Wight exceeded its luggage limit on the journey home is missing the point. Achievement is everywhere. There's always a case for the glass to be half full. This week it's Cowes Week, and a chance for water lovers of all ages and skills to make a splash. In the Isle of Wight Festival's Platform 1 tent and at Ventnor Fringe and White Proms, creatives of all genre are taking their first step into performance or honing their craft. In Chillerton and Gatcombe, potatoes could be prize-winning at the Two Villages annual flower show this week. In Arreton, garden-proud islanders are blooming chuffed to be showing off their backyards. Shout out too to Maureen Mears, who won a shiny shield at Northwood House on Tuesday for her WI reports. Columnist Joe Plum champions the arts this week, and we echo that to those in business, entertainment, academic study, and of course sport. The dictionary says success is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. For some, that's coming home with a gold medal. For others, it's being able to get out of bed and make a cup of tea. And for the rest of us, it's everything in between. Thanks to you for making our island a success in whatever way that works for you. Today's a good day, if you look at it from the right angle.
Taking stock of positive changes since 2010. Many islanders tell me too much of what they hear in the news is negative. For my last column before August, I thought I'd focus on some of the good things that may have been unreported or gone unnoticed since 2010. Here are a few. The economy has grown by 23%, and we've more than halved unemployment. We've raised the national minimum wage to record levels, with many fewer people living in poverty. The Treasury this week confirmed the UK economy has grown faster than other comparable EU nations since 2010. Globally, we are one of three countries leading the world with $1 trillion technological sector. That's $1 trillion. The percentage of women in high-skilled jobs is up nearly 40% since 2010. Rishi Sunak's government protected families during the cost of living crisis to an average of $3,300 per household. The Conservative government has kept the triple lock for pensioners. We've also introduced tax-free childcare, supporting 2 million families. We have a biggest catch-up programme in the NHS history. We're significantly upgraded and role of pharmacists to support our nation's health, especially for women. There are 38,000 more doctors and 51,000 more nurses and health workers in the NHS. We led the world in a COVID-19 vaccine rollout and made our vaccines available to the rest of the world. We've added 20,000 police nationwide. We've outlawed coercive control. We've changed how our law courts handle sexual offences to give greater support to women. On education, UK children are now amongst the best readers in the world. Free schools and academies have delivered significant improvements. We're increasing teachers' starting salaries by £30,000. On energy, we've increased renewables fourfold. We are a global leader in offshore wind power. We are planning new generation of clean nuclear power. Air pollution is falling fast, and the National Plan for Water will mean a sea change in the quality of river water, beaches and seas. We're reforming housing and planning law. On connectivity, full fibre broadband has increased from 1% of households to nearly half, and higher still on the island. To help people get around more easily, we've capped bus fares. Lots of good news, but there is always more to do. I hope you all have a good summer, and if you see me out and about, please do come and say hello.
What's on? What's on at Medina Theatre? Jim Davidson, the people's favourite and one of Britain's greatest comedians. For one night only, adults only, Friday the 8th of September at 7:30 p.m. Tickets £28. Stuart Michael, the psychic medium, on Saturday the 16th of September at 7:30 p.m. Tickets £29. Bridget Christie, Who Am I? The 51-year-old critically acclaimed stand-up. Friday the 22nd of September at 7:30 p.m. Tickets £21. Blake. For over 14 years, Blake have performed classical, opera and crossover, giving each song a beautiful and unique Blake sound. On Saturday the 30th of September at 7:30 p.m. Tickets £28 or £25 for concessions. ABBAmania on Saturday the 14th of October at 7:30 p.m. Tickets £28.50. The Sleeping Beauty, the pantomime of your dreams, from the 1st of August, £19, £16 and £62 for a family of 4, running from the 20th to the 30th of December.
Wolverton Manor Garden Fair, that appears on Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd of September. That's at 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. Shanklin Theatre performances, which is as follows. And then in August, the 3rd of August, Beyond the West End. The 10th, Beyond the West End, that's Friday the 11th is Carpenter's Gold. Saturday the 12th, One Night of Elvis, Lee Memphis King. Tuesday the 15th, Grimethorpe Colliery Band. Thursday the 17th, Beyond the West End. Friday the 18th, Jive Talking perform the Bee Gees. Saturday the 19th, The History of Rock Musical Extravaganza. Sunday the 20th, The Shakin' Stevens Story. June the 22nd, Buddy Holly Winter Dance Party. Thursday the 24th, Beyond the West End 2023. And Monday the 28th, the Pepperpot Players present Murdered to Death.
Chale Show. The Chale Show returns for the weekend of August the 5th and 6th, and you've got until Monday, July the 31st, to enter any of the 260 classes for flowers, fruit, veg, art and craft or children's classes. Also a major fundraiser. Last year the Chale Show donated more than £27,000 to island charities and good causes. It's the island at its very best.
The final fanfare for the Jazz Club. Newport Jazz Club to stage its last ever concert at the Apollo Theatre in Pyle Street on Sunday, August the 6th. After that, it will be unplugging its amps for the final time. The club started in 1964, the brainchild of guitarist Cass Caswell and Robin Whitehead, and Robin's drummer brother Mike. Initially, they played for fun, but when they thought they were good enough, with a repertoire of many traditional jazz and mainstream numbers, they plucked up the courage to inflict themselves on the public. And that's their words. The original Newport Jazz Club was born, and they met in the upstairs room of what used to be Weeks's restaurant on Newport High Street, where Halifax is today. The original club was short-lived when family became priority. Cass Caswell moved away and Mike Whitehead switched to double bass but continued playing for fun. Years later, Mike got together with a couple of friends, forming the Phoenix Trio, comprising Mike on bass, Peter Truman on piano and Bill Wills on drums. They decided to resurrect Newport Jazz Club, and they secured a permanent home at the Apollo Theatre. In 2010, Cass Caswell sold the rights to the name to Bill Wills for the princely sum of 2p. After that, they hosted monthly concerts, hosting top names in British and international jazz and giving opportunities for the next generation of young players. It is always a fine balance, said Mike. Getting the right mix of artists is always a bit of a juggling act, but I think we have got it about right. Island audiences are enthusiastic for trad jazz, and we always catered for this. Indeed, our final concert is trad jazz. We have also tried to promote and coming musicians, said Bill Wills. We recently lost Peter Truman after a long illness, and having just turned 90, I feel it is time to hang up my drumsticks. There is a healthy jazz scene on the island, and I am happy for someone younger to carry on where we leave off. Concert MC will be former Angel radio jazz presenter Ian Mitchell, who said, "The Apollo has been a super venue. Many jazz clubs on the mainland meet in function rooms, where it is not always easy to see the performers. The Apollo has very comfortable tiered seating, so everyone has a clear view. Also, there is a bar where you can get something from your favourite tipple to a nice cup of tea." The final concert will feature the Louisiana Rhythm Kings, who perform the jazz of the 1920s and 30s, capturing the exciting sounds of New Orleans, Chicago, and New York. Their repertoire feature the music of Jelly Roll Morton, King Oliver, Louis Armstrong, and Beck Spiderbeck. Influences of the American revivalists Muggsy Spanier and Bunk Johnson can be heard, as well as the bands of the British trad boom, such as Chris Barber and Ackerbilk.
Now to letters. Tatty Town from Annie Marks Wootton. The council plans to ban parking and widen pavements in Newport. Whatever for? Newport is effectively dead. A tatty town of predominantly empty shops and not exactly the picturesque, inviting shopping area that will pull in islanders or visitors. Come on, let's be brutally honest. Still, I suppose it will be handy for the yobs on their electric scooters and bikes, who will have much more comfortable room to frighten the hell out of pensioners walking in the streets. Incidentally, Plymouth City Council banned parking in the streets probably as long as 30 years ago, and Plymouth is pretty much without shoppers now, but there you go. No one's going to notice the difference in Newport because nobody with any sense goes there anyway.
Appalling decisions. This is Marianne Rumans of Bembridge. What a complete waste of a good money to spend on a building, a beautiful new ticket office at Ryde Esplanade, if it has been designated for closure. I'm appalled by this decision. It is going to affect so many of us, young, middling, old and disabled. It's time to fight back. We, the people, are becoming extremely disillusioned with the service we are receiving. How are the infirm to go to purchase a ticket, to visit a hospital for appointments?
Tories misquoted from Richard Beasley in Cowes. Dear Editor, if Tony White of Lake, who wrote Never Again Bob, truly wishes not to look stupid, it may be in his best interest not to write publicly unless he knows what he is talking about. The Conservatives were not in charge of Brexit. Indeed, the Prime Minister, David Cameron, and his Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, campaigned vociferously against it. Also, the much referred to promise to spend £350 million a week is actually a fiction of the Remain side. Repeated so often, it is now treated as fact. The reality is that the amount referred to was mooted as could be spent on the NHS. When questioned publicly, what Boris Johnson actually said was that it would be up to whoever was in charge at the time. He has been continuously and erroneously misquoted ever since.
A PhD in Kidology. This is by H. Butcher of Seaview. Dear Editor, why is Rishi Sunak dampening down university aspiration? Having spent years and years promoting the expansion of universities, financed largely by student loans to fund tuition fees, the government post-Brexit has spectacularly failed to provide the highly paid graduate jobs it constantly talks about. Punitive interest rates applied to unpaid student loans have no effect if many graduates never reach the salary level to paying back these loans. Consequently, the government is left with the debt. What to do? You daren't point to your own failure. Better blame the universities for all the so-called Mickey Mouse degrees they offer. The truth is, the only thing that's Mickey Mouse is the Conservative government. The sooner we are rid of these chances, the better for our country. And finally, yours confused. This is Graham Rowlandson of Ryde. Rob Young's letter, which was in the County Press on July the 21st, about the floating bridge sign needing repair, prompts me to suggest that while at it, they might make the wording clearer. I am always confused when the sign tells me that the floating bridge is operating normally. Normally, it isn't operating. So does it mean that it is operating or not?
Well, it's goodbye from Francis.
And it's bye-bye from Mike. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Chris Kane advertises this year's story writing competition. Next, the BBC In Touch programme follows that. There is no scaffolding news this week.
Sight for White is delighted to announce the return of the short story writing competition. This year's theme is The Future. Celebrity readers are Richard Cadell, Debbie McGee, R.C. Bridgestock, and the one and only Chesney Hawkes. Entry forms available from Waterstones, Dress for Less, Vectis Radio and Sight for White. Also downloadable at sightforwhite.org.uk or email admin@iwsb.org.uk. Entry fee is £2 for under 18s and £8 for 18 plus. The closing date is Friday the 3rd of November. For more information visit sightforwhite.org.uk or telephone Chris on 52205.
Hi everyone, this is Chesney Hawkes wishing you luck for this year's short story writing competition.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Last week we heard from two people about the experience of losing sight gradually and about some of the strange attitudes which surround it. But this week we turn to the nitty-gritty of the services people need to cope with that loss, whether it is gradual or sudden. Things like diagnosis, assessment of your needs and delivery of the help to acquire new skills like cooking, cleaning, getting around, and why some people think those services often take far too long to arrive and could and should be offered much sooner. I'm joined to discuss this by a patient, a consultant ophthalmologist and a rehabilitation officer who offers training in the new skills visually impaired people are going to need. But first, someone who's trying to draw attention to the problem of delays and has a foot in both camps, really. Luke Howarth lost most of his sight 8 years ago. He works in the eye care services, initially as an eye clinic liaison officer, they're known as ECLOs, and now as site support manager with a charity, the Accrington Blind Society. Luke, let's dive straight in. In an ideal situation, what are you saying should happen when someone is diagnosed as losing their sight?
So for me, it's early intervention is key. It stops people from potentially going into depression, mental health issues. It would have done with me. And in an ideal world, I would like to see diagnosis straight away once the visions have been assessed. Low vision assessment, support services, everybody given the option of an ECLO, no matter where you are in the country, and then rehabilitation as soon as possible.
Right.
I think we are at least giving people the information so they can choose to use that at whatever point in their sight loss journey they are.
So speed is the essence. And what is it that you are saying actually happens too often?
But in certain situations over different trusts and different people that I've spoken to over my career, they can be waiting up to 2-3 years for interventions, for doing something as simple as just making a brew.
And just before we move on, and we'll get you to talk more about, what you think should happen, but can we establish what happened in your own case?
Yeah, so I was in a car accident, had a stroke at the wheel at 27, I was. Coming out, that's a few years ago now. I was diagnosed 3 months after. I was in a coma for a while and then started to have to learn to live being blind. With me, I was very lucky because I went seeking the information. I was in hospital at the time and I had a team of administrators, ward nurses or ward clerks behind me saying, right, well, have you tried this, have you tried that? So I went to all these different places and the support services that were out there to cope being blind.
But you were pushy and you say because you were in hospital with other conditions, you got help that perhaps other people don't get.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me turn to Danielle Smith. Now, your situation was complicated by COVID, and as we know, that's still regarded as a major factor when it comes to things like waiting times, even to be seen, and then obviously that's got a knock-on effect for treatment. You lost your sight in one eye in 2019. Can you just explain what happened next?
Yeah, of course. So I lost the first eye in 2019, and then around 2020, I'd missed my appointment of the February due to unforeseen circumstances that it was cancelled. And then I ended up going into the hospital, having an injection. And then because the pressure was too high, it actually made me go blind straight away. They rectified the pressure as quick as they could. And then I had to go and have a stent put in to keep the eye open for the pressure to stay a stable level. They managed to get possibly about 5% of it back, so I can just make out colours and shapes, but don't really see a lot of detail anymore.
Mm. But how long did you have to wait before you got any direct services?
Nearly 2 years in total because of the COVID. I didn't have any changes to the property that I'm in at the moment until October of last year, so 2022, so nearly just gone 2 years.
And what about, the business of rehab, learning skills, learning to get around?
The same amount of time, about 2 years.
Mm. And what about the issue of the certificate of visual impairment? What happened with that?
The certificate takes quite a while for it to come through. If you leave your appointment without asking about them, then it can get lost in the system. Luckily, I was already registered as partially sighted. So when I had the operation for my right eye, I asked the consultant to change it there and then so it didn't get lost.
Right. So you were aware that there might be delays with that?
Yes. It takes up to 26 weeks with the county council for them to even actually access your information. And then obviously, depending on where you are on a waiting list, depends on how much longer you are actually waiting.
Right. Well, listening to all that is consultant ophthalmologist at Moorfields Eye Hospital, Omar Maru. Omar, what we're hearing is that the CVI, the Certificate of Visual Impairment, is often the trigger for many other things, including getting training in a whole new range of things you need to learn, and your entitlement to a range of benefits, including personal independence payments, for example. Are those CVIs, which then go to social services, always being issued quickly enough?
They're not being issued quickly enough. There are delays at various stages, but I think one thing we've recognised is sometimes, as previous guest just said, they're not being offered to patients or discussed with patients who are eligible for CVI. So we did some work a while ago and recognised that possibly a good number of patients who are eligible, there's no record of whether they've been offered CVI or not. And we've been trying to address that over the last year or so with regular 1 to 2 monthly email reminders to all the consultants, posters in clinic, changing our education, training ophthalmologists so that they're aware of the importance of CVIs and what the criteria are, and also even trying to get other healthcare professionals to be able to issue them, so it doesn't always have to be a consultant ophthalmologist who signs off. That's already happening in Wales, and we're trying to take steps to roll that out in England as well.
It's good to hear that things are changing, but why do you think that there have been delays and are delays with CVIs specifically?
Yeah, from the ophthalmologist side, I think it's not always foremost in the ophthalmologist's mind. The focus is on treating the patient, trying to improve the vision or prevent sight loss, and it's not always there, which is why I think the reminders are so important. I think ophthalmologists, most of them know about the importance, but it's just not there in their mind in a busy clinic. So we're trying to address that by making it very visible and also making it very easy to complete the CVI in clinic. So at Moorfields, we've moved to an electronic form. I've been in clinics and other hospitals where you're 10 minutes looking for the paper form to do it in the middle of a busy clinic, patients waiting for treatment. But if it can be made as easy as possible, there are also steps to simplify the form as well. Then hopefully that will deal with some of these backlogs.
Well, just before we recorded the programme, I talked to Julian Neal. He told me about the implications of the delays he'd had in getting a CVI.
Basically, I had a letter from the DVLA telling me that I had failed the mandatory eye test. As far as they were concerned, I was considered as blind, and they revoked my licence. I then had to go to my own hospital and consultants, and even then it wasn't mentioned about a certificate of visual impairment. I was just aware that I needed some sort of label to get access to support. Not long after that, I lost my job. I then sought advice with Citizens Advice and various other establishments, but because I didn't have a label of any description, there was nothing that they could advise me. You can't claim anything, you can't get anything, and your wife earns too much, so you're on your own. I lost my driving licence in November 2015, and then finally got the Certificate of Visual Impairment, the CVI, in September 2019. It allowed me to be registered with my local authority, then allowed me to sort of have support from the rehabilitation officer. It allowed me to claim for PIP, which at this point had been unemployed for 3 years. It's still having a massive financial effect.
PIP, of course, personal independence payments. And even when Julian did apply for his CVI, he had to wait 5 months for that. Omar, I mean, do ophthalmologists always know how crucial they are and the possible effect of delays for the patient?
Most are aware when you talk to them about it. It's just whether they think of it at that time in clinic. And I think it varies which clinics are done. I specialise in inherited retinal disease, where unfortunately there isn't much in the way of treatment. So every patient we discuss it with. But I can imagine in other clinics where many of the patients maybe aren't at the CVI level and there's a focus on treatments and injections, laser, whatever's happening in the clinic, where it can get missed. And that is a real problem. The other thing we now have is an electronic system to flag up when a patient might be eligible. So as soon as the visual acuity or visual functions entered into the electronic medical record, it flags up to whoever's operating the system, this patient may be eligible. And again, that's a way of reminding people, which hopefully will help in the future.
OK, Omar, do stay with us. Thanks for that. Also joining us is Rehabilitation Officer Trish Wildy. Trish, presumably you know if somebody perhaps is getting to you who's been struggling for quite a long time, and I'm wondering how often that is the case.
Probably more often than I would like. It's hard to put a figure on it. But one thing I will bring up, because the CBI is a very important document, and I agree with that, but when the CBI was actually instigated, there was also a low vision letter that opticians could have and give to someone, and anybody within the eye clinic should be able to download the letter and give it to somebody or send it through. And that can get sent to your local authority in the same way as the CBI does. They also produced a referral letter which was available for hospital and clinic staff to be able to send out before somebody ever reached registration levels. So there was a system put in place that people could get early help. But I think the emphasis within the clinics is still more on the medical rather than the social, how people are managing outside of the clinic.
One other thing, are there enough of you doing the job when people do get to you?
Absolutely not. Most authorities don't have a sensory team. Many authorities have one rehabilitation officer, vision rehabilitation specialist, if they're lucky. And if you also recognise that there's only about a quarter of people who are registered who are eligible to be registered, there's an awful lot of people out there who could be being seen who aren't.
I'm going to go back to Luke, because we've heard now what's happening kind of in the real world and the problems. When you were one of these ECLOs, eye clinic liaison officers in Leeds, you did an experiment, what I like to call your Solomon Grundy experiment. People remember the old verse of Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, christened on Tuesday, and he was dead by Sunday. But the point of it is, your experiment was to prove how quickly the correct sequence of events could be achieved. Just explain what you did.
Yeah, so we were very lucky. We had electronic CBIs, just like Moorfields do. My 5-day experiment was, as soon as they were seen by the consultant, irreparable sight loss, filled out a CBI, if the consultant agreed to it. Day 2 was ECLO intervention, so ringing up the patient, have you got any needs, are you aware of what's happening, do they need any signpost referrals, what are your immediate concerns. Day 3 was low vision clinic, so it was during COVID was this, and low vision services weren't running within the clinic, we were doing it all on the phone. So through working with my senior optometrists in Leeds, we developed a really good service where do an assessment over the phone and post out the magnifiers or any low vision aids that you thought might be applicable or help that person at the time. Thursday was the rehabilitation support. So the Rovies would have the CBI as soon as I sent it through on the Tuesday. They would do the wellbeing call on the Thursday. You know, are there any immediate concerns? Is there anything like that? And then they'd obviously go on the waiting list. And then on a Friday was third sector support. So all the support services, so benefits, advice, home assessments if applicable, things like that.
That sounds brilliant, but you did it as an experiment, I think. I mean, can it really be achieved in the real world, or was it just a one-off to make a point?
I think that it can be achieved because, don't forget, these people weren't doing the major assessments at that point. They were just alleviating things. So like the rehabilitation officers, for example, and the low vision professionals, they weren't doing the full assessments that they would do in a clinic or at a house. They were actually giving the people ideas over the phone and finding out what their needs were at that time. So, for example, if somebody just can't read, and I know that's a big, I shouldn't say just can't read, but if somebody is just in the concerns of everything in a greater picture, if somebody's just having problems reading at that time, and then it can be fixed by a 2.5 of times 3 magnifier, then post it out, send it, and that's alleviated their issue at that point. So that's still letting them being able to do something they love and potentially stopping them going into mental health issues.
But I think the point you're really making is you did this because you knew a lot of professionals, you knew them all, you did a lot of networking, you used the phone rather than writing letters or even emails. That's presumably what you're saying could be done.
What it is for me and what works and what I've started to do in my organisation is getting together with these different professionals. So working with the rehabilitation officers, having forums, meeting them, just ringing them up once a week and saying, oh, how are you doing? Is there anything else we can do? Things like that. It's all about the networking between the 3 sectors, the NHS, the secondary sector and the third sector. And only by working like that can you all work together to stop duplicating work and to actually giving people a better service, in my opinion. And it works when I've trialled it.
So, as you've mentioned, rehab officers, I mean, Trish, could you imagine this working where you are?
I think the realism is if you know everybody and it's great and you have a team that's big enough to do it, but to do that and then the next day there's somebody off and there's leave or you're short-staffed, The theory is great. The practicality to sustain it, I think, might be quite difficult.
Right.
The will would be there, but I think in reality to sustain that would be quite difficult.
Well, you've absolutely anticipated the question I was going to put to Omar Maru. I mean, you're a busy ophthalmologist. We're talking here about getting ophthalmologists, social workers, rehab officers, other professionals, ECLOs together. Could it work?
I completely agree that getting network, knowing who your ECLOs are, letting ophthalmologists who maybe see different types of patients where CVIs aren't so prevalent in their clinics to still be in touch with their ECLOs. We have 8 across our sites at Moorfields and we're in touch with them. And I think that really helps with the delays. Like I said, the problem is getting the ophthalmologist to recognise that they should be discussing CVIs, which we're working on, and there's some evidence that has been a bit of an improvement there, but then getting everything else joined up. Once that happens in our clinics, we often get the certification done within a couple of days if the patient's there on site, but sometimes there can be delays. So sometimes it's patients deciding, which is obviously the psychological impact that affects people differently, so we're going to push it on everyone, but otherwise the delays in actually certificating onto decisions made are quite small.
Well, you're all being quite clever in anticipating my next question, because I was going to ask Danielle. I mean, that sounds great because you had 2 years to wait, but this is the reverse. This is everything happening in a great rush. Could you have coped with that?
I think I'd have coped a bit better if it all happened straight away, yeah, because for me, it was the not knowing where to turn. I didn't go out, didn't do anything because I didn't know what was out there for anybody who'd lost a sight. As soon as you finish with a consultant, there was nothing, no help. I'd have accepted it a lot quicker and a lot more confident in myself if I'd have had it right at the beginning rather than 2 years later down the line.
Let me just finally go back to Luke. This is your idea. I know you've gone out talking to people about it. Is it something that you think could become the norm rather than what we seem to have at the moment?
I'd like to think that, yeah. But I completely agree with Trish and Omar that it's not always possible. But I think if we aim for high, if we aim for a 5-day pathway or a 5-day support service, then if someone's waiting 2 weeks, then it's still better than waiting for 2 years.
Absolutely. Well, thanks to all of you for taking part in this discussion. Omar Maru, Trish Wildy, Danielle Smith and Luke Howarth. We do want to hear your own experiences, positive, negative or mixed. Did you get or are you getting the help you need? And just before we go, there's something else we'd like your help with. Experiences of renting. Tomorrow, our consumer programme, You and Yours, is going to be looking at a case of someone who tells us they were refused accommodation because of their guide dog. Has that happened to you? Let us know. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk, leave a voicemail on 016 836 1338, or if you've learned the skill yet, go to our website because there's more information there, bbc.co.uk/in touch. From me, Peter White, producer Beth Hemmings, studio managers Philip Halliwell and Simon Highfield, goodbye.